For the past 8 years, Wargaming has done a pretty good job of giving us a consistent flow of new content into the game, with just about every update bringing some form of new ship to the game with either a new tech line or some new premium ships for that update. However, as time goes on, Wargaming does have to get a little bit more creative, shall we say, with what ships they are bringing into the game, their characteristics and such, to the point to where we have been getting some pretty dumb ships here in the past couple of years. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a ship that seems to be a little bit dumb and goofy. Many of these ships are quite fun, and those are the ones we're going over in today's video. My top 5 dumb, fun premium ships. So these are ships that have some type of ridiculous, convoluted, or just downright goofy aspect about them. We'll talk about what that aspect is when we get to each one. But if you do find yourself enjoying this video, please make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel before you click off of it. Of course, helps out on the YouTube side of things. But let's go ahead and get on into it with number 5, which is the Italian dockyard ship, the Michaelangelo, which, yes, right here at the front, this was a dockyard ship. They don't typically return, although in the past a couple have returned to another dockyard event, like with the Puerto Rico, but that is rare, so you can only get this one through Super Containers and Santa Containers at the end of the year. But if you do manage to pick it up some way, shape, or form, it is a just ridiculously fun ship. So the Michaelangelo is one of the best secondary ships in the game right now for a couple of reasons. One, she has a very high number of secondary guns, and two, those secondary guns do shoot SAP rounds. Now, SAP rounds have a very high alpha rating, which means their damage that they do is, well, quite high. But they are essentially turbocharged HE. If you don't know how SAP works, it doesn't have to pin like AP does in order to, deliver its damage to the target. It pins much more along the lines of HE, and it can usually pin a much higher threshold than same caliber HE. So you can pin those armor thresholds, deliver a high alpha to that target, and when you have tons of guns all over the ship, there you go. It's a winning combination just on that alone. But the Michaelangelo does have, of course, the usual Italian gimmick of having an exhaust smoke generator, which means that you can pop your exhaust smoke generator, and as long as the enemy target is spotted for you, you can just walk toward them with your secondaries firing out of your smoke cloud and absolutely just melt them with your SAP secondary guns. And there are some quite large caliber SAP secondary guns on this ship as well. So it's not just the little 90mm guns. You have some larger 150s and such on the ship. So you can pop your smoke, melt down those targets. You still have torpedoes on top of that as well. And you get hydroacoustic search, which, giving a ship SAP secondaries, 10.5 kilometer SAP secondary range, a ton of SAP secondary guns with great reload times, and then giving it hydro on top of all that, that is quite a winning combination in my book. Now, the real goofiness about this ship is that its main battery guns are situated in the middle of the ship, superstructure, not at the bow or the stern like, well, every other ship in existence, right? So that's a little odd, which leads to some very awkward main battery gun firing angles, but those aren't your real main battery guns. Your real damage dealers are, in most cases, the mountain of SAP secondaries that the ship has on either side of it. So weird design, a weird setup, a goofy ship, a dumb ship, but yes, a fun ship. Sadly, again, not readily available unless you get lucky in Santa Containers or Chris's Containers, which is why it is here at number 5 on the list. Which now brings us on down to number 4, which is the Tier 10 Tech Line French cruiser, the Marseilles, the Mega Dunkirk with the engine boost and the reload boost. Yeah, the Marseilles, the French naval design is just weird. I mean, all you really have to do is take a gander at the French tech tree, and it really, if you look at the French battleships, it's just like, what is going on here? How do we go from the Leon being a gun barge at Tier 7 to having the Republic at Tier 10, which is just a really big Graf Spee. Tons of guns on the Tier 7 ship, 8 guns on the Tier 10 ship. Whatever, that's the battleship line. The battlecruiser line, I mean, it's a little bit more, at least unified in its vision, I guess I should say, is in that they are basically bigger Dunkirks, the Tier 7. premium French battleship. But anyway, what is the Marseille? Well, you get 9 330mm guns and then all 4 of the superstructure configuration, which, I mean, those are some big guns to have on a cruiser, right? And these are technically battle cruisers, but unlike the other battle cruiser lines we have in game, the Marseille line is still in the cruiser slot, so you get to take up a cruiser slot, but you get some big guns with the French high velocity AP, which hits high above its weight class. You'll shoot someone with these guns, and instead of feeling like they got hit by 330s, it probably feels like they got hit by 16-inch guns because of how much these shells can penetrate and their damage ratings. And on top of that, too, you do get that reload booster, so after you strip 15 to 20k off of somebody's broadside, you can follow that up with another quick follow-up salvo and do it all over again. So that's fun. The HE is also pretty good as well on the ship, and you do get an engine boost on top of that, and hydroacoustic search. So this is a fast cruiser with hella large guns for being a cruiser, with a reload booster and hydro, which means this really funny looking ship is really maneuverable and great for running down flanks, or really if you can get to any position where you can get some cross shots on the enemy team, that's obviously ideal with the Marseille. Now, despite what her gun setup may look like she's great for, she's not great for sitting in and bow tanking. That's just a no. Don't do that. You will get melted down because it still does have French armor, so you can and will eat pretty much all the HE shells that get thrown at you because of that, because of the 32mm coating. Well, not 32mm coating. If it was a battleship, it would have that. But for the thin for its tier armor that it does have, you're going to be eating pretty much all the HE shells that get thrown at you. So you got to stay on the move. Basically run around like a chicken with your head cut off, and you'll be fine with the Marseille. But it's just such a ridiculous looking ship, and it's weird that again, France has all these weird setups, but they work so well in this game. It's just really funny how that keeps happening. But yeah, it's a dumb-looking ship, a goofy ship, a great ship. Not only is it fun, but it's also, like, competitively a good ship as well. If you've played clan battles the last season, there's a fair amount of Marseilles, because, again, go figure the 330mm armed cruiser that can run down a flank in record time. Yeah, that's going to be great in a competitive setting. And does have the hydroacoustic search, which helps it deal with torpedoes and submarines and, all the other lovely things you have to deal with playing at tier 10 now. But that's the Marseille, our number 4 slot. Going down to number 3, we have the tier 5 Soviet destroyer, the Okhotnik, the old war canoe. Who doesn't love just a gun barge? Like, this ship, look at it. Look at how ridiculous this ship is. All those single-mounted guns just straight up and down the spine of the ship. It's so dumb. I love it. I love this ship so much. It actually is a pretty good gunboat. Because, again, I mean, go figure, right? Who could figure the destroyer with a zillion guns going down its spine is a good gunboat, right? But, I mean, you would think with how bad the turret angles would be with all these single guns. No, I mean, when you can bring them all into the fight and you can get them all to hit, you are going to be chunking, tier 5 destroyers for like 5k, 6k damage if you get lucky, right? That's on a tier 5 destroyer, that's, in some cases, darn near half of their HP. So that's a little goofy. It also gets a Soviet bias AP, and again, with all these guns that you have, that can do some real work. And when you find light cruisers that are broadside to you, which are aplenty at tier 5, you can and will Citadel them out of existence. You also get 12 torpedoes on top of that, which the torpedoes range is 4.5 kilometers, which is far in its detection range, which means, those are kind of last resort torps, unless you can sneak up on a battleship or in your smoke and someone's trying to rush you. Then, yeah, they can be useful in those situations, but it's just such a dumb ship. What it does have going for it, besides, again, an absurd amount of guns, is that it doesn't really have superstructure. So unlike a lot of other DDs, when you're being shot at by battleships from 10, 12, 13, 14 kilometers away at tier 5, there's no tall superstructure for the shells to really bite into. So you'll find all the shells just whiz over your head, and you can get away from those battleships with that little factoid in mind. But again, too, it's really just a dumb ship. It's a war canoe for a reason, right? I would highly recommend picking it up. It's only a tier 5 ship, so it's not really too terribly expensive. And with tier 5 being populated by bots, it's really easy to exploit that for financial gain, right? Alright, that's the good old war canoe. Going down now to number 2, we have the tier 9 Italian destroyer, the Paolo Emilio. Second Italian ship on this list, huh? So the Paolo Emilio is, well, anyone that's been here for some time knows that I really like this ship and what this ship is. It's a one-trick pony. It's a torpedo delivery system. It has short-range torpedoes, but they have incredibly high alpha. They have alpha, I believe, if not similar to, identical to the Shimakaze's torpedoes, but you get 3 racks of them, and again, they have a 6-kilometer range. The idea is you run at the enemy ship, pop your smokescreen, pop your engine boost, which the smokescreen conveniently lasts just long enough for you to cover your minimum detection range of 7.1 kilometers to the target traveling at your full top speed. See what I'm getting at here. You emerge from your smoke at 60 knots, deliver your torpedoes to the enemy ship, blast them out of the water, laugh, and then sail away, hopefully to your next target. It's a one-trick pony, but it's a trick that works very well. And, I mean, ideally, in the worst-case scenario, you will at least take out one ship of the enemy team, and then you'll get taken out. And that's, the worst-case successful scenario, right? You at least trade, your ship for one of their ships. Of course, too, plenty can go wrong. You can run into another DD, you can run into a submarine, the CV can spot you. In most cases, the Paula would kind of just get rolled over by whomever, by whatever, because you've probably built into, well, being a torpedo delivery system. So your guns may not be that great and such. So you do tend to die a lot if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't get lucky. So again, it's a one-trick pony, but it's a fun trick. Should you probably attempt to do this a lot? No. It's a fun way to kind of break the monotony of the game and just, go on a polo run, try to YOLO somebody, and you'd be surprised. Sometimes you can pull this off 3 or 4 times in a single match. I've done it before. It's a great feeling. It is a research bureau ship, so it does take some time to get, but again, fun ship once you get there. That brings us now to our number 1 slot, which is the American battleship, the Illinois. The Illinois is, well, someone took an Iowa hull and bolted a bunch of Des Moines guns on it. You get 12 Des Moines guns in quad turrets, which look very weird on an American ship, but okay. So you get the tankiness of an Iowa, basically, with less HP, with the DPM of, 2 Des Moines and a little bit, no, actually it's 1.5 Des Moines, right? Yep, 1.5 Des Moines. So, yeah, that's just some really weird combination that Wargaming put together that was surprisingly a real design that they dug up somewhere, and the result is, in-game, you get, well, a pretty good ship. I mean, who knew? Giving more Des Moines guns to a single ship makes them a bit of a DPM hose, because, well, it sure does. So you can play it like a Des Moines, hug your island waifu, and then, rain down HE upon your enemies. Or you could be a little bit more ballsy with it because you are, in a Iowa hull. It is tankier than a Des Moines hull, right? It has more HP than a Des Moines. So you can push into the enemy ships, load up that American Mark 8 Super Heavy 230mm AP, and just consume whatever ship dare gets near you. And you'd be surprised, again, how much these cruiser caliber guns hurt when they are firing that 8-inch super heavy AP. You can and will just absolutely consume whatever ship gets near you. Like, even if it's a GK or a Yami or, some of the more well-armored battleships in the game, aim for their upper belt, and 12 Des Moines shells hurt. And you got 12 more coming in 6-ish seconds, depending upon your build and, adrenaline rush and all that jazz. So it's just a fun, goofy ship that is surprisingly, well, workable in today's World of Warships. I thought for sure this thing was going to be kind of in the Paolo Emilio camp, where it'll be, useful in like 1 or 2 situations, but it's a pretty just good battleship all in all. Now, obviously, too, you can't be overmatching too much with 230mm guns by tier 10 standards, but who cares when, again, you can be throwing 12 Des Moines shells at the enemy every, 6 seconds, because that's a lot of shells going at you. Fires will get started. The AP will find something to pin. So all in all, a goofy ship, a fun ship, like the others on this list. It is a Research Bureau ship up there with Paolo Emilio. So again, if you want a fun ship, you are going to have to unfortunately regrind a couple of lines for the Illinois. But she is definitely worth it in my opinion. So guys, those are my top 5 dumb fun ships. Let me know in the comments down below. What are your top 5 dumb fun ships? What ships do you play just to kind of get away from, the monotony of the game? Ships you use to kind of get away from the meta and all that jazz down below in the comment section. Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.